This sentence was issued a little more than a week ago, and now the victim's mother feels like closure has been snatched away from her.
It's a case that the victim and her family thought was over. Joshua Baud was convicted of 2 counts of aggravated felonious sexual assault on a 7-year-old girl and sentenced to 10 to 20 years in prison with a chance for release after 7.5 years if he completes counseling. But now Judge David Garfunkel is considering cutting part of Baud's jail time by suspending more of it.
After much soul searching, I determined that I had not properly balanced the goals of sentencing, and that to do so I should increase the length of suspension if Mr. Baud successfully completed the recommended sexual offender treatment.
Very hard to
If you look around the room, majority of the classmates are male. Imagine if one of the female and male classmates were committed the same offense, but the female was given the shorter punishment or no punishment at all. Is this right? This is what is happening in court systems today. Knowing someone who is serving time in jail, I know that serving time is the consequence that comes with making the bad decision. In the United States, the role of gender and equal rights is an issue that has occurred in the sentencing reform system and has led to the development of reform acts in the justice system. In the next few minutes, I will inform you about how gender plays a major role in sentencing reforms and how has it led to the development of new federal prison reforms. First, I will inform you the differences between female offenders and male offenders. The Journal of Criminal Law and Criminology writes that female offenders have a margin of the criminal justice system compared to the males that have maintained the vast majority of criminal offenders. Women are favored more than men when it comes to sentencing. They are seen to be weaker or more dependent than men, so they are less responsible for the crime they committed. According to a judge in the miscellaneous study, I don't think there's any rational or objective thought about it. But if there's a feeling about incarnation for a woman is far more degrading than a man, you'll never see them, women, back because they'll do everything they can to keep from coming back. Women are also seen to be the caretakers of the family. They have more responsibilities at home than men. Stated by the Journal of Criminal Law, one commonly hypothesis is that systematically favored female offenders over similar situated male offenders. Compared to females, males are held more responsible for the crimes they've committed. Now that you know more about how gender plays a major role, I will share with you how it is affecting the capacity in prisons. With judges sentencing the maximum sentence for nonviolent crimes, prison capacities have rose tremendously. Judges are sentencing offenders to lengthy sentence even though most of the offenders are nonviolent crimes. The Hill writes that federal prisons population has increased nearly 800% since 1980 and has nearly doubled since 1994. According to William Hubbard, the tough on crime policy has affected non-violent offenders from moving on with their lives after they have served their sentence. Besides serving the crime they've committed, officials have considered other ways for treatment. The Alcoholism and Drug Abuse Weekly writes that officials hear that it is frustrating that there isn't enough services. Many offenders benefit from inpatient programs. Optional programs would allow non-violent offenders to serve their time for the crime, then return to the railroad and continue with their real lives. Now that I've shared something about how the number of offenders has affected the capacity of prisons, I will lastly inform you about how the federal government has tried to solve this problem of sentencing reforms. Over the years, the federal government has developed programs that would help this problem. The Sentencing Reform Act of 1984 was developed to reform the sentencing system at state and federal judicial systems. The Journal of Criminal Law and Criminology writes that the dual purpose of the Reform Act was to have just punishments and crime control. The Smarter Sentencing Act was introduced to Congress, which would reduce the length of sentencing and give federal judges more responsibility. According to the Alcoholism, Drug Abuse Weekly, the Federal Department of Justice planned to find new ways to release low-level drug offenders from federal prisons. This would emphasize on more not seeking the maximum sentence for nonviolent offenders and seek other ways for treatment. Finally, I have shared with you the ways the federal government has tried to fix this problem of sentencing reforms. I have went over how men and women are treated differently in the sentencing reforms, how nonviolent offenders are having to serve maximum sentences, and how the federal government has tried to solve this problem. It shouldn't matter whether you are a male or a female. Being treated equally is something that doesn't change no matter what the situation or the event that happened. In conclusion, the Journal of Criminal Law, the federal sentencing guidelines haven't eliminated the favorable treatment of female offenders. Special treatment continues to happen and is present in the federal court systems. Thank you.